Rivals ignite the passions of a fan base. We're going to discuss who are the Mammoth's biggest rivals.
You are Locked On Mammoth, your daily podcast on the Utah Mammoth, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everyone, and welcome once again to Locked On Mammoth. I'm veteran NHL voice Tom Callahan, joined by longtime team analyst Robin Leano, and together we are the dynamic duo that brings you the Locked On Mammoth podcast each and every single day. Thanks for making us your first listen when it comes to the Utah Mammoth. Talking this particular episode, Robin, about rivals. Rivals are so important. Because as I said there in the open, they ignite the passions of the fan base. It is that team or those teams that you just get so fired up to see. And I mean, some of them turn into all-timers. There are rivalries as old as the hills, and it just, if I were to say to somebody who's a baseball person, something like Yankees, Red Sox, or Cubs cards, they know what I'm talking about. I know you're going to give me a West Coast analogy. Go ahead.
You just go straight out and leave Giants Dodgers, one of the most historic rivalries out there. Come on,
Giants Dodgers. Yeah, I know
that goes back to the 1800s.
It does, and it dates both teams back to New York too. When New York had about 57 baseball teams, but no. So I mean, those are rivalries people know. And in the NHL, I mean, we can give other obvious examples, but in the NHL, Toronto, Montreal. Both original six teams. That is not only fan base rivalry, but that is a cultural rivalry as well. So that one is absolutely huge, and it is just entrenched in the fabric of the game. There are other rivalries in and around sports that really ignite the fan bases. But Robin, today I want to debate with you. Who are those teams? Because I don't think it's just one for the Mammoth. And it's a little different now that they're not the Coyotes anymore. This is kind of an interesting thing because back when they were the Coyotes, we might have answered one way or the other. But I mean, now that they're Utah, geographically, it's shifted a little bit.
A slight bit, yeah.
The identity is shifted, but they're still in the Central, which also can make it a little awkward here. But who are you going to nominate, Robin, for the biggest rivalries for this team right now?
I mean, I feel like it goes without saying you could talk about the two geographic rivalries because they fight over territorial, especially since Utah kind of when they just moved there, they kind of dropped in a spot where were two teams who were kind of already fighting for territorial rights, questioning what Arizona was doing at the time. And that's Vegas and Colorado.
So the Colorado Avalanche in the division, Vegas Golden Knights not in the division. I think Vegas and Arizona, if they would have been on par, that would have been a very natural rivalry.
That would have been a nice story.
It really would have, because they were both destinations, and actually Vegas stole a little bit of this thunder from Arizona because the Snowbirds would come down, Robin, to watch their team, and they would go to Phoenix because they could work in some golf. The weather was nice. They could hang out in the sunshine. But then you can golf in Vegas, hang out in the sunshine in Vegas. It's still a desert climate, but now you have the allure of the Strip and all the shows. And that kind of stole some of that thunder. So I think the Coyotes had that kind of bitter taste in their mouth towards Vegas, but the two teams were never really on the same plane of existence.
This is something that we talked about last year, right? When we tried to talk about big rivals. And again, we're revisiting this conversation because, again, now a year has passed, and it really can a conversation that can be further about it now that we know a little bit more about where these cultures are, what the teams are like. And you're right, because Arizona has some animosity towards Vegas, but it wasn't reciprocated.
Right.
I feel like now there's a little bit, you can make an argument now that Vegas has some animosity towards Utah. I think there is, again, a territorial rights now aspect. As an example, right? You take a look at southern Utah. St. George is, it's closer to Vegas than it is to Utah, but the Utah Mammoth are claiming the whole state, and Vegas is like, these guys are ours.
It's kind of interesting, and part of it goes along with broadcast rights, and there's a lot of money in broadcast rights, and so that's why teams fight over this territorial advantage. That's
Mhm.
why Vegas tried to spread its wings as wide as it could, all the way from Canada down to Mexico, and try to cut that large swath of territorial rights north to south in and around Las Vegas. And it makes sense why, because you make more money that way. There's a lot of money in broadcast TV.
Mhm.
I think, Robin, two things work against Vegas becoming any bigger of a rivalry. Number one, they're not in the same division,
That
and
does play a factor, yeah.
that's kind of tough. You just don't see them as much. But the other thing to me is, I think, just in people's minds, Vegas is hot and sunny. Utah is a little bit more of a winter playground, which is, I think, why Denver makes more sense to roll them in there for the Colorado Avalanche as that first, rivalry. Very similar, skiing and the outdoor and the snow and the mountains and everything. And, they've got a championship pedigree, which always means
Mhm.
to knock them up. But so does Vegas. Okay, you can make that argument for Vegas. But I
By the
think
way, but speaking of which, it's actually really funny that you mentioned that. And this goes a little bit deeper too. And I have seen Utah fans, and this is Utah, just like Utah people in general, right? Make those snide comments towards Colorado, slash Denver, and they were ready to go straight out say Denver or Salt Lake City is what Denver wishes they were. Because everyone talks about Denver being mile high, but there's also the other joke people make where Denver Airport is practically Kansas, right? It's like that. So you go to that part, right? It's flat and it's like right.
oh
Um,
my god, that is one of the longest. I hated flying into Denver. When we flew into Denver and had to get on the bus, Robin, no exaggeration. If the weather was nice, it was 45 minutes to get to our hotel. It was out by the Cherry Creek Mall. We used to stay at a JW Marriott out there.
mhm.
Oh my goodness. It was just ridiculous. Between that, Edmonton and St. Louis, I don't know why. They built the airport in Kansas, it feels like. It is nowhere near the city of Denver.
And it's
That's
also,
ridiculous.
and it's also flat too. And it's funny thing is because they look at the mountains and then like you see the mountain backdrop of Denver, and it's cool, right? You see the Rockies, but then you see the mountain backdrop with the Wasatch Mountains of Salt Lake City, and oh my God, the beauty. Again, that's why people from Utah are saying Salt Lake City is what Denver wishes they were.
And if you do want a plus, Vegas's airport is pretty much downtown. I mean, you're right there.
It's
So
good. I mean,
it's about the closest of any modern airport that I can think of to a city's main attraction off the top of my head. Um, but yeah, anyway, we don't want to get into the debates of airports, although good. I've seen way too many airports.
I was gonna
Let's
say
talk about airports.
if we really want to do that, you can bring in Winnipeg's airport or non-existent airport.
Yeah, that's seriously, Edmonton's airport, I think, is out past Leduc, if I remember correctly. It is not near anything either. Um, but let's talk a little bit then about Colorado. I like Colorado as a rivalry. I think I'm keeping them on my list. Uh, we're going to have to debate about Vegas a little more if they stay on the list, but I've got a team for you that I think this one perked up at the end of last season. And quite honestly, these are the games I'm looking forward to most. Today's show brought to you by FanDuel. Hey, the NFL season is here, and FanDuel's making sure you're ready for kickoff with a can't miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Of course, FanDuel, for those of you who have fantasy rosters, makes all the games more interesting, more intense, and it fits however you like to bet, whether it's the player props, building those into a same game parlay, or even jumping in as a live action unfolds. Maybe you're not particularly following a game that day until the fourth quarter. You want to jump in, you want to ride the wave of the momentum. Look at that Bills win, go Bills. The other day against the Ravens. Hey, you can do it. Why? Because it's quick, it's easy, and it's the best way to add a little more energy to your Sundays. Are you ready to play? Well, download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet. Tom Callahan, Robin Leano here with you. Hey, if you like what you hear, please like and subscribe. Our subscriber base growing here. Again, our thanks to everybody, our everydayers, and our new folks for the AMA we had over the weekend, live Q&A. We're going to do a lot more live shows. Looking forward to that. We've also got plans coming up here as we solidify things towards opening night. Robin, we're trying to do a lot more. And if folks wonder, what is me following? What is me liking? What is me interacting with the show do? It helps us generate more revenue on a bunch of different levels, and that enables us to do things like travel more. It enables us to do things like really, do in-depth and expanded pieces and expand, quite frankly. I mean, we do a lot of this with our own gear, and I've been in the industry a very long time, and I have a decent stash already, but, it really does help us to stay current and try to make this something that we're passionate about into something that can really be sustaining in the long run. So we thank you for doing that.
That's one. And two, and liking and just subscribing is a way to show metric to media, media relations and those individuals to kind of it as something that Tom said during our live AMA. It helps legitimize us a little bit more, right? They see those metrics. It's not just us getting. It's not just a couple of fans, recording and having 10 people tune in. No, we're the source, and they see that.
And I mean, we don't have a newspaper, we don't have a radio or TV station, but what we do have, honestly, YouTube is pretty much a TV station these days. Podcasts are radio stations, so that's where our content finds a home, as opposed to traditional over-the-air media. And that's just the changing landscape has enabled us to do this, but we love talking hockey with you guys. And absolutely love it. And appreciate if you reach out to us on social media. I want to get everybody's thoughts in the comments now. Start throwing your teams down there. Who you think is the true rival or rivals for this team? Robin, I told you that there's one team I think it started to bud towards the end of last year. And these are the games I'm looking forward to the most.
Okay.
This is a team the Mammoth will be in direct competition with to make the playoffs, and they will have to learn to handle these guys, the St. Louis Blues.
100%. I feel like that would be it. It's going to be it's like the Blues and the Coyotes had a history, but I feel like this is something, going to be even a little bit more elevated now that the Mammoth are kind of rising to relevance. Right. Because everyone viewed Arizona as an irrelevant team. So it kind of delegitimized them for a while. So now the Mammoth are a relevant team. People pay attention. They know who they are. Not to mention, the Mammoth have a Chesterfield, Missouri native, Clayton Keller, on their team, who seems to always have St. Louis's number.
Well, he does like playing that team, doesn't he?
Oh, yeah. It's great. And St. Louis, I know they're upset about it. They want to try to win. And those battles are intense. I love them.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun to watch those games. The Blues play a style that I like. And it's hard to... okay, you can like whatever kind of hockey you like. What I like is I like physical, intense hockey. I do like to see hitting. I don't have to see fights. But I like hitting, and I like a heavier style. What do I mean by that? I mean more aggressive. I mean getting into... I talk about the battle on the wall all the time. When that pile forms, I want to see my players on my team that I root for get into that pile and work harder than the other guy. That's what I want to see. I want to see them get in there and come out with the puck. To me, that is the type of physical play that I want to see, because that is hard. That is exertion. That is effort. And it's a will to win that battle. And I think that these two teams really match up well there. And it can often come down to a force of wills.
There's also I think a similarity between the two teams and how they're built. And it goes back because some of the history that is between these two teams. For those that aren't really familiar, and maybe you are, but if you're not, I'm going to go ahead and remind people that Bill Armstrong, if I'm trying to remember his verse correctly, he once served as the AGM to Doug Armstrong. By the way, not actually related, but no relation. But Bill Armstrong was the AGM to Doug Armstrong in St. Louis. before he took the job in Arizona, and now, of course, with Utah, and now building that team and building this team and doing what he's been doing here. So and I know Bill is drawing a lot of similarity from the style of what Doug did in St. Louis.
And Robin, I've got one other team I want to talk about, which oddly enough, I don't think anybody in Utah yet gives a damn about, but they should. And I don't think anybody in this other fan base particularly cares about the Mammoth either, but they should, because I feel like this clash could possibly set up, if the Mammoth are going to be as high as third, which we have talked about on some previous episodes, they've got to get to the Dallas Stars. And I think Dallas is a team that is an attainable, beatable, gettable team for the Mammoth this year on that road to making it into a fourth or a third spot in the division. It's going to be hard. They have an excellent goaltender. They are a very deep hockey team. But if you play the Dallas Stars tough, they're number one, they're going to respond. But number two, this is the team I think you need to want to be like, not so much Winnipeg, honestly, not so much Winnipeg. And I love Winnipeg. I talk about it all the time on this program. But I think Dallas has been the team that you've wanted to emulate as far as being able to make a deep run. Now, here's the question mark this year, Robin, and why this is not 100% something that I know how it's going to play out is the coaching change. Right? How different is Dallas going to be under a new coach? That's a question we're just going to have to wait and find an answer to.
It is absolutely. But here's something I will add as an extra layer to that, Tom. And this is something that I have noticed, and maybe you have noticed, other fans have noticed. If you want to tell me you noticed this, tell me in the comments. Is that Utah, for some reason or another, when they play against some of the better teams in the NHL, they have their best games. Sometimes they play up to the competition and then they play down. It's one of the things that frustrated me the most. But I can see this being a scenario with Dallas, especially if they set their eyes on Dallas and say, "Hey, this is the team we want to beat," consistently. They will kind of put that as a goal, and a rivalry will bud at some point. Because let's put it this way: some people might predict Dallas to be, let's say, first in the Central, maybe second in the Central this upcoming season. Utah could make the playoffs. There is a scenario where these two teams play against each other in the first round. That would instantly start it.
Oh yeah, because that would be an incredibly intense first round.
Because that's what builds rivalries the most. How much you see them in the playoffs. There's a reason why, and I always, I'll even say in the latter 2010s, the early latter 2010s, right? San Jose fans hated Vegas so much, right? They weren't supposed to be the natural rival, but they ended up being that way just because they played each other so many times in the playoffs.
And rivalries can come and go depending on how teams are going. I remember looking back over the years, Robin, in the 90s, a couple of the big rivalries were ones that you would not even think of today. Now, Dallas, Colorado was one of them, but that Dallas, Colorado, Detroit triangle, all three of those teams were rivalries with one another. But Buffalo, Philadelphia, that was a big rivalry at the time. I remember that one.
San Jose, Detroit.
Right.
Was a rivalry.
San Jose, Detroit. And these are today, you're like, really? That was a rivalry? Yeah. It was. It was at one point. And I think you're always going to have Calgary, Edmonton, right? I mean, the Battle of Alberta, always going to be intense. That's always going to be there. Boston, New York, in anything. It could be tiddlywinks. That's going to be intense. But, Robin, the rivalry shift over the years.
Pens and Caps, always going to be
Caps, especially in the heyday of Ovi and Sid. But wouldn't it be wild? I don't think the Pens are making the playoffs this year, but wouldn't it be wild if they did one more time and they were able to go head-to-head one more time? It'd take a lot from Pittsburgh to make it happen. I don't think it will, but it'd be cool. Just for old time's sake. But so now, to my point, you're like, how are the Penguins and the Capitals rivals? They're not. Pittsburgh's kind of irrelevant. Okay, granted. But, Robin, that's why one of the ones I thought would be interesting, and I always wondered why this wasn't more of a rivalry, because I feel like when I was in Tucson, it was for the minor league teams. San Diego and Tucson
I know. I knew you were going to
really
go there.
didn't like
Straight
each
there.
other.
No, they didn't. It was great too, though, because I remember they made a trophy out of it, right? The I-8 Border Cup,
Yep.
right? And what's crazy though is over time, that rivalry actually ended up translating into the NHL, where Arizona and Anaheim just hated each other, and that all goes to a lot of the whole Trevor Zegras and Tyson Nash and all of that happened.
Oh, yeah.
And all of that where Tyson Nash ripped into Trevor Zegras for, quote, showing off when he tried to perform the Michigan, and everything else kind of just went. And I think it was I think Tyson Nash praised, I believe it was Jay Beagle or someone else, for absolutely laying one into Trevor Zegras for doing that. And then of course, it just built after that rivalry.
Right. And yeah, so I remember that, but I mean, now to look at a Utah Anaheim rivalry, like
it's not there anymore. Like remember going into last year, I was saying, you know what, I want to see if it continues, and it didn't. Yeah, there was still some animosity between some of the players, but it's just not there.
Utah was like, new state who dis. They just
right.
And again, the Ducks were not very relevant last year. Utah managed to, despite everything, stick around for most of the year and try to make a go of it. So Robin, I think maybe I only have two teams on my list right now. Maybe my list is only Colorado and St. Louis. I think those other ones that we mentioned could turn into something. I just don't think they are yet.
Yeah, they could. And I said, I think I have hopes, and then I still I always have a hope of a rivalry with Vegas, even though it's not the same division. To me, I feel like because Vegas is the kind of team that like you just want to beat, right? Even because they're close to you, you just want to beat them. Especially with the whole story behind them and how they got so good so fast, and everyone dislikes Vegas for a reason, right? Unless you're an actual Vegas fan. That's one of the reasons why I put them up on there to start things off on this show. Because I was like, you know what? That's one. Plus, of course, the territorial rights as well. Which, by the way, as I mentioned earlier, I think on the live show on our AMA, by the way, Vegas is also trying to get the territorial rights of Arizona, which, of course, used to be where, used to be Utah, and Utah had territorial TV rights here last year. So everyone's trying to get territorial rights of Arizona, by the way, in TV.
Yeah, and you know what? At some point, they're going to have to give them all back, because I guarantee the NHL is going to come back once the building gets built.
It's going to be a while. It's still going to be a while, but
they'll have to give them all back eventually. The NHL could end up at 36 one day. I think it could happen. So
I would imagine. I would love to have a conversation about realignment when it gets to that point.
Yes, because you would figure you're going 8-8, 8-8. Although there's other ways you could go, but that's a whole nother show.
I was thinking 3 divisions and on each conference and whatever, and then go. You can get creative.
You'd want to break it down even a little smaller there. That could make for an interesting playoff treat.
I mean,
depending on how you do it.
I mean, the MLB does it with 30 teams, so
yeah, you could expand play-ins and wild cards and all kinds of stuff, and as long as it's not as confusing as what the American Hockey League does, we should be fine.
I don't think we'll get there. No.
My goodness, I hope not. So, all right, we've got some news on the Utah Grizzlies for fans of minor league hockey who watch this podcast. We're going to tell you what's going on with them next. Tom Callahan, Robin Leano. It's Locked on Mammoth. Thank you so much for joining us. Tell your friends if you like what you hear. We appreciate you sharing the link to this and our homepage podcast as well. You can always reach out to us on social media with comments, suggestions, ideas, thoughts as well. We're looking forward to doing more live stuff coming up this year for you. And a reminder, we are back to 5 days a week now as well.
So fun.
I know we have so much to talk about, Robin. I've got topics. I mean, I have lists and lists of potential.
Can you believe hockey's back this weekend in some capacity?
It's kind of wild. I actually sitting there watching the Bills game. And for those of you who don't know, maybe you're new to the show. If so, welcome. But every dayers know Tom's a big Bills fan. Born and raised in Buffalo. And I was sitting there watching the game last night, and I'm thinking to myself, Are we already in the NFL season? College football always seems like it starts in July. So
Yeah.
I'm used to that, right? It's still summer when college football starts. That's fine. But when the NFL kicks off, like, oh, fall has arrived. Now it's baseball. And this, okay, Robin, what is your favorite time of year as a sports fan? And I'm going to not say the spring
Ooh.
because I love baseball. Baseball opening day, Stanley
Mhm.
Cup, NBA final, F1 season kicking off, soccer. I'm an EPL fan. EPL's coming down the stretch and Champions League as well. So there's a lot to love about the spring,
Mhm.
but there's something magic for me about the fall with football going on, with baseball playoffs, the World Series on the horizon. And I love the start of a hockey
Mhm.
season. I
Oh yeah,
love
no.
it.
It's 100%. And it's interesting because I actually talked about somebody about the debate between April and October being the best month for sports. April, of course, you mentioned some of those. You also got you got the end of March Madness, the Final Four. You got a lot of different things happening in April. But and I would just say one thing and one thing alone in October, the sports equinox. There could be a single day. Sometimes it's a couple. Maybe might get lucky to have more than a single day where you can have the MLB, the MLS, the NFL, the NHL, the NBA all playing on one night.
Well, everybody knows the best sports month is September. Number one, because it's my birthday. Shop early, shop often. But number two, every other year, my favorite event in golf, the Ryder Cup. And the Ryder Cup is coming up this year. And I love golf
Mm-hmm.
and I love the Ryder Cup because it is not tournament golf. It is not, oh, yes, quite nice birdie. No, the Ryder Cup is intense. And it is, we talked about the passion of a rivalry. The Ryder Cup is a rivalry every single time, and I love it. I absolutely love it. I adore it. So that's an awful lot of fun for me. I do. I love sports in the fall is my favorite time of year. So are you going with spring or fall, Robin? What do you like?
Ooh,
Or some other time?
you know, I love April so much. Stanley Cup playoffs to me is a whole nother vibe, right?
Oh
Stanley
yeah.
Cup playoffs, March Madness. I love March Madness. I mean, look, I'm an Arizona Wildcat, right? I went to U of A, and March Madness and U of A go hand in hand, right? They are like always a thing. So like, even though Arizona hasn't made it to the Final Four in a couple of decades at this point, it's still the principle where they're a team that's always competing for that spot. And of course, you have the Masters, you have a lot of other things in April, and it's just so much excitement all around. I'm just like, something you just can't, there's nothing nothing not to love about.
That's a fun little mini topic we didn't plan on, but throw it in the comments. What's your favorite time of year for sports? What do you like? Whether it's a month, whether it's a season, maybe you like the day after the Major League Baseball All-Star game because there's no games. I don't know. Let us know what your
Yeah.
favorite is down there in the comments. So, Robin, we do have a Utah Grizzlies update. This might be the worst kept secret, I think, in the ECHL. But it has been announced, at least finally, that the Grizzlies are going to end up in Trenton, New Jersey, and they are going to play. And what is actually a very nice arena out there. I know this is no consolation to Grizzlies fans. Trenton is a place where I'll just say it's not my favorite city I've ever hung out in, but that arena is really nice. They're going to get an ECHL team back. They used to have a team called the Trenton Titans years ago. So they're returning there. But Robin, that does open up the arena across town and kind of, I guess, give us closure on the saga of the Utah Grizzlies here ever since it was announced that Utah was getting the Coyotes NHL franchise.
Yeah, and again, like you said, Tom, it is the worst kept secret. Like everyone knew it was eventually going to happen. It's hard to have two teams like that coexist, especially like if it was AHL and NHL. That's a little bit easier, especially if they're the same, if they're under the same organization. But NHL and ECHL from two different organizations, by the way, also where One is owned by a rival organization. We talked about rivals earlier today, right? The Grizzlies are the ECHL affiliate of the Colorado Avalanche. So, and not to say it wasn't going to work, because I know there are so many Grizzlies fans who've been around for such a long time. They're not just going to stop being a Grizzlies fan just because they're a Mammoth fan, because it's the affiliations. But it does make it tougher, especially if you have to compete with an NHL schedule.
Right. And dollars are finite. The options to spend your money, it's not only just the sports market as well. I mean, consider in Salt Lake, there's other things. I talked about being a winter playground. Well, maybe you're buying a ski pass. Maybe you're going out snowshoeing or cross-country skiing, or, we talked about pond hockey earlier. Maybe you're playing in a men's league somewhere, or you've got youth league sports or whatever. There's always places to spend that discretionary income.
Maybe a lot of these guys are boosters for either University of Utah or BYU. Like, it's... Right.
We actually don't even talk much about the college sports scene there, but that's vibrant as well.
Oh, yeah. Everyone talks about the Holy War, right? The Holy War is always a big thing.
Right. Yes. But on this program, I mean, we don't touch into that too much. I mean, it's obvious the Jazz, even though this show has no affiliation with the Jazz whatsoever, but it's hard to ignore when the ownership
is the same.
Is shared. Yeah. So, yeah. You end up talking about that. And then, Robin, there's always the rumors about Salt Lake. Are they going to get a Major League Baseball team? That's right. The other one so now
they're fighting for one, or at least they are keep pitching it. They keep pitching it when they try to get at some point.
But that's the thing, and not to go off on this tangent, I feel like this is another summer topic. But at the end of the day, those corporate dollars that are spent, the ticket dollars that are spent, the merchandise dollars that are spent, that pie is only one size, and you can only slice it up so many ways. So that is why I would worry about, now I know Salt Lake is one of the fastest growing cities in America, but I would worry about rushing in yet a third major league team to the market, especially when the Mammoth are just getting settled.
I mean, you take a look at what, Las Vegas as an example, right? I mean, it took over several years, right? It still was relatively fast, right? Where the Golden Knights were the first to do it, and back in 2017, and then come in the Raiders just a few years later, and then the A's are going to be bound to head there in a couple of years. Like, it's still within a 10-year time frame. That's really fast. But also, Vegas was significantly overdue for professional sports.
I thought it was interesting, too, that the Golden Knights, and they were right in this thinking, they needed to and wanted to beat the NFL to town. They had to get there first.
Yeah.
That gave them the best chance of survival.
What I will also say, and this is a whole other side thing, but I'll add this as a point of what ended up getting Vegas a huge boost in followers, and just that level of love is what Vegas did for the community after what happened on the 1st of October that same year, right? For those that are unaware, that was the shooting that happened in Las Vegas just days before the season opened. Vegas did a whole 52-second moment of silence in honor of the 52 people who passed. Like, it's like they went all in on a scenario for that. And like, I feel like, again, they came in right after that and people rallied behind it. Derek England, he rallied behind it.
Yeah, that was a powerful thing. And not to get off into a social commentary thing here, but that is something, Robin, I would love to talk about too later on, just to bring it all back to the Mammoth, about the impact of a franchise or franchises on the community, on, that civic supporting base, beyond what they do on the ice, beyond the wins and losses, the impact that they have in and around the community.
It means so much to the community when a team does that kind of thing. When they really do that level of outreach, then they really say, hey, we recognize us as a city. We are here together. We are one. Absolutely.
Absolutely. And I think that's that's so important to be able to do that and really get people to understand that, hey, we understand we're here, we're part of the community, we want to support and do
Mhm.
everything we can. And I think the Mammoth so far, from what we have seen, have done a good job of that as well. So
But to
we
tie it
got way
all,
off the rails on all this,
no,
by
but
the way.
to tie off with Bo and like the idea though of minor league hockey though, because I do believe minor league hockey will return to Utah at some point. I don't know if it's going to be at the Maverick Center or West Valley City, and maybe like I said, unless it's an actual AHL affiliation with the Utah Mammoth. But one of the things, I mean, I talked about this earlier, right? I love to see maybe there's a team in St. George, or maybe maybe a team in like Ogden or Logan, somewhere out, like in other areas that are outside the metro Salt Lake, because you're able to extend your reach a little bit, extend your territorial reach.
And I'm sure it's something Smith Group will explore. Believe me, they're leaving no stone unturned. So, hey, that's great to see. And you never know, that practice facility looks like they're going to have that ready to go for the rookie dev camp here.
Oh, I'm seeing some images coming through, and oh my god, I love how it's looking. It looks so good.
It looks good. And it was interesting that the quote was passed on, that they believe it's going to be the best in the NHL, the nicest in the NHL. They spared no expense with this. So you want to talk about one of the things that matters to players, whether it's free agents or just, talking to your friends in the off season and planting seeds, man, that goes a long way when they know they're walking into something that's nice on and off the ice.
Mm-hmm.
It's a big deal.
Oh yeah, 100%.
All the way from ownership on down. So, Robin, anything else we want to add to this one here? I know, like I said, we kind of got off the tracks a little bit on this. We went off for a little bit. Robin, I think you're muted, or maybe that's me.
Am I?
Oh, Robin, I think it's me. All right, Robin, I've got you now. So anything else we wanted to add here at the end of the show?
No, I feel like we had a pretty good organic conversation there towards the end, even though we did get off a little bit, but it was a good organic conversation. But I think we hit it all.
We definitely we're entertaining. We're entertaining. You never know where the show's going to go. Just because there's bullet points over there doesn't mean that we're sticking to them. And that's why you got to always watch to the end. It makes it a lot of fun. Robin, where can folks reach out to us if they have comments? Besides, if you're on the YouTube, you can certainly drop your comments below. We read each and every one of those as well. But where else can they find us?
Yeah, you can find us just about everywhere on social media. I primarily manage the site over on Twitter. You can find us there at Locked On Mammoth. That's at Locked On Mammoth. You can find me personally at Robin with a Y _ Leano. And you can find Tom Callahan. Where can we find you?
Over if you're a Blue Sky person, at Tom Talks, and I am trying to do better with Twitter and be over there more often and respond to things. I turned my little notification bubble back on so I can find out when people send me things. I'm at Callahan on air there. So we appreciate you supporting the show, no matter how you choose to get behind us. It matters, and we say thank you so much for being a part of Locked On Mammoth.